In this week's Vendée Mag, Charlie Dalin wins in record time, ahead of Johan Richomme and Sébastien Simon. The battle for fourth is reaching fever pitch with Jeremy Bayou and Sam Goodchild in the mix, and Jean-Luc Nélia on Dalin's near-faultless race.
Santé prévoyance, relativement à 100 mètres de la ligne d'arrivée du Vendée Globe 2024 et attention pour l'arrivée de Charlie Dalin, massif santé prévoyance. Top, massif santé prévoyance, vainqueur du Vendée Globe 2024-2025.
At 8:24 local time on Tuesday the 14th of January, Massif Santé Prévoyance crossed the finish line off Les Sables d'Olonne. Skipper Charlie Dalin has won the 10th Vendée Globe, ending his 8-year quest.
I've never felt anything quite like it. Crossing the finish line with the sun rising. I'd never experienced that before. It was simply incredible. Awesome. I've been dreaming of the 2024 Vendée Globe ever since I finished the race back in 2020. It's been this 4-year battle for the team and I. We've worked so hard in designing and perfecting this superb boat, in building this superb Massif Santé Prévoyance. Everyone gave their all, and the boat was brilliant. The last 4 years have been all about this. And that's it. We've achieved our target. It's great. I feel like I've been racing for 48 hours. It was so intense, so fast, barely any time to reflect. We zoomed down the South Atlantic and 23 days in the Southern Ocean. That was unbelievable too. So was the ascent of the Atlantic. Earlier, before crossing the line, I said to myself it felt like I'd been away 2 days. It really feels like I left 2 days ago. It's just the temperature that's changed. No, honestly, it's been a superb race.
Dalin sailed perfectly in the relentless sprint finish. Over the last 5 days, he kept Richomme at a distance of over 100 miles, smoothly negotiating a route by the Azores and into the Bay of Biscay. Dalin maintained high speeds in favourable conditions until he reached the tip of Brittany before turning towards Les Sables d'Olonne on Monday afternoon. Sailing faster than his rival, he closed all the doors that Richomme might have tried to slip through. A close-hauled, upwind finish, a tense finish, at quite an uncomfortable trim, before once again crossing the line first. This time, after 65 days, that's 9 days inside the race record held by Armel Leclerc since 2016. A staggering performance achieved after a brave fight against a formidable opponent.
It was an incredible race with Johan. Hats off to him. It was his first Vendée Globe, but you'd think it was his third or fourth. He attacked like crazy in the south. It was unbelievable. You'd think he'd been competing in the Vendée Globe his whole life. Well done to him. I think it's partly due to him that I sailed around the world so fast. Because it motivated me to keep going, keep hoisting and reefing the sails, and constantly retrimming the boat to catch the weather systems. Just drove me on and on. If the record's been broken, it's thanks to Johan and that intense battle we've had for most of the way around the world.
A few hours after crossing the finish line in the stunning light of dawn, Charlie Dalin's joy as he rode up the channel contrasted sharply with the frustration felt 4 years earlier. As soon as the news was officially announced, Dallin's fellow competitors saluted the winner's performance.
Well done, Charlie. A fine win in the Vendée Globe. You raced incredibly well, and it's fully deserved. A perfectly prepared boat. Super speeds. This Vendée Globe was yours. I don't know if you recall, 4 years ago, when I took the trophy, I told you, in 4 years' time, this will be yours. Well, I was right, and I'm very, very happy. You truly deserve it.
Really impressive. Your race, your commitment, your speed. Bravo! You've done incredibly well.
Before the start, I was often asked who my favourite was. I didn't really have one until your mind-blowing option at the end of the Indian Ocean. It was so brave. Awesome. I'm passionate about sailing, strategy and ocean racing. And the route you dared to take at that point, well, it was beautiful, bold, and yet calculated. Well done. Honestly, it was so great to see, even for us as skippers still at sea. I have to admit that until yesterday I thought that I'd be able to catch up and overtake you. Well, it's over, for this race anyway. It's crazy to think that I've still got 3 weeks at sea, and yet the winner is home and dry. I'm overjoyed for Charlie and his team. It's fantastic. But at the same time, it's a little bit depressing for me.
Il est à toi ce trophée! Vainqueur de la 10e édition, Charlie Dallin! Charlie Dallin, vainqueur de l'édition 2024-2025 du Vendée Globe. Bravo!
With the pressure off, runner-up Johan Richomme crossed the finish line at 7:12 local time on Wednesday the 15th of January. He took 65 days at an average speed of 17 knots to complete his maiden round-the-world race, finishing 22 hours behind Charlie Dallin.
The emotion you feel after sailing round the world is incredible. I don't know if I ever really dreamed of it, but I've done it. I'm proud to have led this team from a blank page 3 years ago to second place in the Vendée Globe and have the leader looking in his mirror. A record. Well, I didn't end up with the record, but not far off. It's incredible. I'm so proud, and I want to share it with everyone and celebrate in a befitting way.
Richomme eased off in the final hours of the race to sail back up the channel as day was breaking.
It was fantastic to get such a warm welcome from all these people. I take great satisfaction in having completed a superb project and in having done it well. I dreaded not doing a good job, so obviously I could hardly be more satisfied. As for the other guy, he's pretty unbeatable. He fully deserved to win. He's very strong. I knew when I rounded Cape Horn in front. Honestly, I thought I had a 10% chance of winning. I don't think I was wrong on that score. It might have been a close race. We'll have to have a rematch one day. I'm quite simply happy for him. We've shared a lot of things over the last 10 years or more. So it's nice to be here now, both of us. Lovely.
In the end, the big-hearted competitor didn't get an opportunity to worry Charlie Dalin, but sailed a near-perfect race at his first attempt.
Notre expert du jour, c'est Jean-Luc Nélias, le team manager.
Our expert today is Jean-Luc Nélias, Charlie Dallin's team manager. Behind us, the amazing boat that broke the record. You've had it for a few hours now. Jean-Luc, tell us what state it's in.
When the boat arrived, it was dawn and a bit dark. We quickly checked her over for any issues, inspecting the sails, masthead aerials and things like that. But there's very little visible damage, and the boat is in great condition. As someone mentioned earlier, it doesn't look like the boat sailed around the world in 65 days, but it has. A bit of algae has had time to grow around the transom despite the speed, but no, overall the boat is in good condition.
However, Charlie told us that there is a small structural crack.
Yes, there was one tack along the Pacific Antarctic exclusion zone where Charlie felt the strain on the board on a starboard tack. When things had calmed down, just before Cape Horn, he inspected the boat and found a crack in the carbon's inner skin from one bulkhead to another. After the Falklands, in a section of light air, Charlie repaired the damage with some composite work and added small carbon reinforcements.
You're an expert in performance. This boat has stored terabytes of data. You'll now need to analyse this amazing race, won't you?
We'll receive a great deal of data, which we'll clean up and format. And then we'll run through the race again and discuss it with Charlie. We'll analyse sections after that, comparing performance metrics like foil speed, wind angle, and more, to identify the boat's strengths and its weaknesses, and what the others try to do. And the view really is to constantly improve this boat. There's always a race to improve things, and of course if you don't, you won't be up to speed in the next race. Continuous progress is the key.
What surprised you most about the boat's race performance?
The boat's performance in this race is always about speed, but it also reflects the skipper's ability to pick the right times. The shore team supports Charlie in addressing mechanical or other issues. It's really about constantly finding resources on shore and at sea to do small repairs on board so that it doesn't lose speed. This is crucial because, like travelling by road, if you stop at the service station 3 times, your average speed will drop. Well, it's the same here. Every time you make a downwind run to check something on deck and avoid waves and danger, you lose ground. We minimise that through the race, which is why we set the record.
What's your competitive takeaway from this race?
The routes were very tight and fast, with records falling on every section. Even that final stretch from the equator to Les Sables d'Olonne, that was incredible. Nearly a straight line to Brittany, followed by a bit of tacking to Les Sables d'Olonne. It really was a very tight and fast course all the way through.
What does the relentless pace they set themselves imply?
We don't always realise it because the videos involve a bit of showmanship where smiles go down better. But if you look closely though, the fatigue shows on their faces. They start to look slightly sunken. From time to time, Charlie would mention being in the lateral safety position. There's nothing we can do in that case but reel back on the communication. Remember, they're not just sailing, they also have to do the comm and all that. After Cape Horn, you drop the live broadcast and try to rest, because it's a moment of intense vigilance. You're excited, but it's hard to sleep. The aftermath is huge, and the South Atlantic ascent to the equator is really difficult, with many transitions and manoeuvres. Johan and Charlie were burnt out at times. That can be dangerous. When you're exhausted, you lose that clarity of mind. You start making mistakes, and then you can't sleep while you fix them. It becomes a vicious cycle. You see other skippers in the fleet undergoing that too.
Some say the race boiled down to the big diagonal between Brazil and South Africa, others the massive low off the Kerguelens, and some believe it's the cold front of Cabo Frio. What do you think?
Without contradicting what I said earlier, a win is played out all through the race. You can't stop. You always have to be fast and in among the leading group. We saw the leaders making good progress, but slowly, one by one, they dropped off, getting further behind. You can't afford to think, it's fine, I'll catch up later with a hide, because that's not how it works. No, it's always full on. The weather ahead will change and evolve. What was closed will open up. And they've always remained consistent and vigilant. Johan managed to close the gap when we thought it was over. When Charlie opened a 500-mile gap in the Kerguelens, Johan had the resources to push forward, driven by favourable weather conditions. It was the only one really to close the gap and finished just hours behind Charlie.
Merci beaucoup, Jean-Luc.
Thanks again, Jean-Luc, and again, bravo. So, 2 boats back to port in Les Sables d'Olonne, but the race, of course, goes on. Lying in 3rd place is Sébastien Simon from Les Sables d'Olonne with a regional Vendée sponsor. The local hero will get a huge reception for his performance and human endeavours. A successful illustration of his talent, despite breaking a foil which ruled out a shot at the top and an impressive comeback after 4 difficult years. A year ago, Simon was recovering from a fractured neck, and 4 years ago, his first Vendée Globe came to an abrupt halt at Cape Town after he hit an unidentified object. Back in the Northern Hemisphere, the chasing group of sailors, who met with a succession of complex weather systems from the outset, now faced an exhaustingly slow finish. Although early in the week they were sailing in the trade winds, the return to the Bay of Biscay promised to be complicated. A well-established southern high-pressure zone caused quite a headache, making route options unclear. Sam Goodchild and Jeremy Bayou were neck and neck as they entered the doldrums.
We've just crossed the equator. We're back in the Northern Hemisphere. And the next step will be the finish line in Les Sables d'Olonne. Sam is still nearby. Sailing fast. It's hard to overtake him. We're back in the doldrums with a few squalls already. It's better because it's a little warmer. Nothing wrong with a drop of rain.
Slightly behind, Paul Meyer flourished and began to attack until he became the latest to suffer rigging damage.
It's a disaster. My J2 got tangled in the foil. I've freed it, but I've lost my forestay. That's the swivel that broke. So, I'm sailing with a J3 like Thomas and Boris. But the issue is that I haven't got a forestay, so it's a tad problematic. But let's try and finish the race.
Nicholas Lundven, Thomas Rouillon and Boris Herman were also sailing in degraded mode following their sail and masthead damage.
I'm equipped to lower and hoist the sail on a masthead halyard. I then need to climb up and lash it. It sounds straightforward, but there's a 2-metre sea state, the chop of the trade winds. I don't feel good about it. I'm a bit nervous.
Their aim was to stay in the top 10, while Justine Metro, on the oldest boat of the front-runners, continued to belt along with remarkable consistency on her first round the world. 1,000 kilometres further south, Clarisse Creme, in 11th place, suddenly became anxious on exiting the Cabo Frio thunderstorms.
I hate that. Lightning and thunder. You wonder if it'll hit you. I really don't like that.
Creme led the trio, together since New Zealand, with Sam Davis and Benjamin Dutroux close behind, capitalising on the trade winds to gain speed.
I'm out of the squalls now. I'm so relieved. And I've just realised that those thunderstorms freaked me out for a while. Another quick tack. And then I'll change tack and head north to the trade winds.
Regarde-moi ça.
We're in the trade winds.
Over the past few hours, we've been picking up speed, heading north again, which is great. Not crazy speeds, though, as it's not completely steady. It's definitely no holiday out here.
The sailors had now entered their third month at sea, and after the heavy storms they experienced rounding Cape Horn, the constant fatigue was starting to play tricks on them.
It's crazy. I feel like I'm half narcoleptic, half... that disease you catch as a teenager when you've been kissing too much and you feel tired all the time. What's it called again? Glandular fever? Is that it? I feel like I've got glandular fever and narcolepsy. My body aches all over. It's just so weird. I've got spots on my back this morning. These 2 months in the south have visibly taken their toll. And it hurts like hell. Something really weird has just happened. My body's just let go. I was lying down in my bunk with music playing on my headphones and a Sudoku grid to try to clear my mind, since things were steady. I woke up 4 hours later, Sudoku on my face, headphone batteries flat, in a puddle of dribble. My body just completely let go. But now, I feel great.
Before heading back up to the equator, the group of 7 had to contend with the erratic shifting winds of the semi-permanent cold front off Brazil. This led to gaps closing, yet the wily Jean Le Cam emerged well by taking a central route.
Somewhere it's calm, because at some point you always hope for the odd squall from time to time. So when you exceed 8 knots, you're happy. You tell yourself it's going to last and then back at it again. Look!
Roman Attanasio headed west along the coast, and his option looked to be paying off.
Et moi je suis tombé en esclavage de ce sourire, de ce visage, et je lui dis emmène-moi.
It's great. We've got some wind at last. We can make headway. But just behind, the others have closed that 800-mile gap.
Aventura had indeed made a good comeback in the early part of the Atlantic ascent. Attacking harder, he and Damien Seguin looked for a route to the east.
I'm happy right now. I've had good weather on the ascent. It's all come together, and I pushed the boat a wee bit, so I'm happy. It was a great sail from the Horn to here. Again, it's great because compared to the others, my speed is quite good. I'm happy, but there's still a long way to go. Behind, they're going to close the gap, and the weather is complicated. It's great to be back with boats that are more like my own, though.
The storm raged on further down.
I have 40 knots and it'll continue like that for roughly 20 hours. And I don't have a foresail. I've 2 reefs in the mainsail. It's a bit dicey. I'm a bit apprehensive.
Violette d'Orange lost her J3 in the sea, a sail designed for strong gales. She's now sailing off Argentina along with Arnaud Boissier, since Eric Bellion had to bow out in the Falklands. After an initial repair to his J2 forestay, he discovered it hadn't been successful. With no spare parts aboard and a severe gale forecast, he was forced to dock at Port Stanley and at the same time retire from the race.
So we have a bit of a breather until another quick one hits us before Cape Horn. Because, let's face it, the Pacific was no picnic. There are still a few days to go before I get to Cape Horn. I've been waiting for this for years.
The Antoine Cornick group was still in the Pacific, tossed about by a strong low-pressure system.
Albatros direct voor Kap Horn.
Oliver Hare was the first of this next to last group to round Cape Horn, followed by Cornick and Zhu Jingkun. At the tail end of the fleet, Fabrice Amadeo and Manuel Cousin sailing together across this wild seascape past Point Nemo, whilst the backmarker Dennis van Weinberg was still over 8,000 nautical miles from Les Sables d'Olonne. We now know who'll make up the podium of this 10th Vendée Globe, but there's still a fierce battle at sea for the places in the top 10, and this incredible round-the-world race hasn't yet said its final word.